Hi there and welcome to Living Matters. This is Sarah Starr's podcast. I'm Nikki Thackeray, your host, and I'm joined today by the lovely Emma Campbell. We're going to be talking about Emma's journey that she's been on with bowel cancer and everything that she's been doing since to talk to people about her experience and share her story and give other people hope. So welcome, Emma. How are you doing?
Oh, hi, Nikki. Thank you so much for having us. Yeah,
Pleasure,
I'm good.
Pleasure. So I'd love to start just by asking you if you can give us a bit of a sort of potted version of the journey that you've been on over the last 6 years, I think it is.
Yeah, of course. So I was initially diagnosed with bowel cancer when I was 36. My symptoms actually started when I was pregnant with my third child. Kind of dismissed, thought it was pregnancy related. It was a bit of a journey to actually get diagnosed, but got diagnosed in early 2020 with stage 4 bowel cancer. So it was also in my liver at diagnosis. My daughter was 8 months old and I had 2 other kids who were 4 and 6 at the time. So very challenging time. Obviously, we all know as well what happened in 2020, throwing in the pandemic as well with a cancer diagnosis wasn't on my bingo card that year, but yeah, so had surgery for that, had chemotherapy, and by the end of 2020 was in a really good place. So was told that I was all good, and off I went to live my life, and then it has come back twice in my liver. So I do like to think I was lucky. It might sound really weird, but I was lucky that it was only in 2 small places in my liver. Like, it could have been so much worse and more difficult to treat, I suppose. So it came back in 1 small space. So I had my liver surgery in 2022. And then it came back again in 2023. So I had another liver surgery. So I like to think that both of those liver mets have gone now. And I have been all clear from disease ever since. So that's 2.5 years now of 0 treatment, no surgery, just getting me regular scans and being clear. Coming up for 3 years in September. Keeping everything crossed, touching wood, and
Yes.
and just hoping, yeah. So that's a very condensed version.
It's a very condensed version. Well, and I was reading your story, and it felt like, so when you were pregnant, you knew that there was something wrong, and it feels like you had to be quite persistent.
Yes.
In getting checked properly.
Yeah, and it's something that actually I hear a lot from other people who are similar age to me, young and having a bowel cancer diagnosis, is actually we're not necessarily heard because we're too young for bowel cancer, which what we know is not true. Mm-hmm. If we're presenting with symptoms, we should be treated the same as anyone else, doesn't matter our age. There's a lot of people who are diagnosed a lot younger than me as well. Like I said, I was 36. And yeah, I basically bought myself a private stool sample test to put my mind at rest because I was having some symptoms. The main one actually being just severe pain in my abdomen area, to the point where I did go to A&E when I was pregnant because it was really bad. And because when you're pregnant, they like to make sure you're fine. So go to A&E. They just sent us over to maternity, checked the baby was fine, just said I was severely constipated because I was pregnant, and sent us off with laxatives, and that was it. And the pain happened. It was very intense, really, almost like contractions, actually, big spasms, right. Yeah, in my bowel. But it only happened on a couple of occasions, really, really bad. And then I was fine. It wasn't like an ongoing thing that happened all the time. It was really odd. But I thought, it's just pregnancy related, that's what I was told. But then I had my baby in the May, my daughter, who was now 7, so time flies. And it happened again when she was lying in a basket. So I was like, this isn't pregnancy related.
And did it feel the same?
Yeah, it was worse. It was worse, to be honest. I couldn't really get out of bed. My mum had to come and help us with her, and that was kind of something's not right. That was putting alarm bells in my head. So I was like, it's not pregnancy related. So what is it? Almost like food poisoning, but me and the family had ate all the same food at that time. And just you kind of, and I say it a lot, trust your gut. But my gut was telling us something's not right. So that's when I seen this random advert pop up on Facebook. Like I wasn't searching or anything. It's like just popped up for like a private stool sample test.
Yeah.
They advertise it as a bowel cancer screening test. Essentially, it's just going to tell you if you've got blood in your stool.
Right.
So I thought, you know what? I'm going to just buy it. I won't tell anyone because they'll think I'm wasting my money and I'm stupid for buying it. But I'll get it. I'll do the test and it'll just make us feel happier that I've done that. Mm-hmm. So I got the test, kept it in the drawer for a few weeks, as you do, and finally got around to doing it. And that was when I actually done it. I don't know if you've ever had to do a stool sample, but you kind of have to like scoop a bit of your poo onto the thing. So I had never really like looked that closely, but then I realized, oh, there was actually blood. So I knew before I'd even done the test, by actually doing the test, that there was something there. So
do you mind me asking, was there much blood? Like what did it look like?
Like really like not what I had expected. It was like inside. It's like, so you would never have had it on the tissue. I'd never ever had it on the tissue like some people do. Yeah. It was like right inside, like really dark red. Right. Yeah. So they obviously sent me the results and were like, yeah, there's really high levels. You need to contact your GP urgently. So it's like, oh gosh, okay. It's not what I had hoped for, but so rang the doctors, obviously, as you do, like in a bit of a panic. I need to be seen today. They were like, well, there's nothing. It's like trying to get a doctor's appointment. Mm-hmm. So I really was like, no, I really need to see someone like immediately. And they're like, well, we can book you in at the sister surgery the next day. So I think it was a weekend or something. So I was like, yes, that's fine. So went to see the doctor the next day with this result that emailed us. So I had the documentation, told him my symptoms. I think I even had to bring my baby with us because just couldn't manage it with the childcare. And he was very dismissive. Like literally the words he said were, you're not bringing up any red flags. What do you want me to do? And I remember that forever. As a young...
That seems like a really odd response to when you've literally got blood in your stool.
I know.
Because it's not causing concern.
Yeah, I'll never understand his reaction. But as a young new mum, like thinking about my kids and just knowing in me gut something wasn't right and having this result, even with this result, because that's your fear, I think, sometimes about going to the GP with symptoms. It can be that, oh, they're just going to dismiss us. Oh, they're going to say I'm wasting their time. Oh, they're going to think it's nothing. So that's almost why I went armed with this result. So I thought, well, they're not going to dismiss us if I've got the evidence. And here I was getting dismissed yet again, saying, well, we don't know the conditions that test was done. Who are these people? These were the things that I was facing. So I started crying because I was absolutely like distraught about the situation. Then he's like, well, I suppose I'm going to have to send you for another stool sample. We'll do an NHS one and I'll send you for bloods. And that was it. So that was kind of the start, I suppose, on the NHS. So not a brilliant experience. I know that a lot of people who I've spoken to have had similar when they've, been in to present with bowel cancer symptoms as a younger person. Yeah. And a lot of people have had to go back and back and back for years, some of them, to get diagnosed. And there's a lot of us younger people who are getting diagnosed at stage 4 because we've been going, like, I guess from my colonoscopy to my first instance of going to A&E, it was about a year. Right. So, lots of things can change in that time. But you can't really dwell on the what ifs and stuff. So then he referred us to get another stool sample. They lost it, so I had to go back and get another one. Got my bloods done. They got sent to the wrong place. So it was just like a catalogue of errors, really. But eventually got through to a nice GP at my surgery she was a lovely lady, took the time, and, I went in to see her, and eventually she was like, yeah, I think we're going to refer you for a colonoscopy. So I was actually relieved. I was like, yeah, I'd love that. By now, a few months have passed. Wasn't put on the 2-week pathway or anything like a lot of people can be if they suspect cancer. Right. That was never on the bingo card for even the GP. So that was probably around November, and the colonoscopy was in the February, so a few months. My symptoms had got progressively, I guess, worse over the Christmas stuff because actually when I was eating a lot, like over Christmas, when you overindulge and stuff, I spent all of Boxing Day in bed, again, in pain.
So what was it, more of these spasms, like getting more intense?
Yeah, just real pain. Like I can point to it there because that's where my tumour was and that's where the pain was. And obviously when I did have the colonoscopy, Nobody was expecting to find this massive tumour, but it was almost blocking my entire bowel at that point. There was millimetres of space. So that's obviously why the pain had got worse, because
it was getting bigger.
It was, there wasn't any room for the food to get past. So, and then again, like literally the wheeled us into a little sight room, you know, in me, whatever I was wearing at the time, my hospital robe thing, and I was obviously sedated, had the gas in there. It was a bit like, what on earth is going on? They couldn't get the scope round, obviously, because of the tumour, but they were jabbing it and really going for it to try and get it round. So it was painful, you know. And that's where, like, the base that you just said, yeah, there's a lesion, so you will need surgery. This was the doctor. So I was just like, oh, great, there's, you know, there is something there. That's brilliant. I can get it sorted. I knew there was a problem, not really knowing what she was saying. So that's when the nurse, she left, and then the nurse was like, Emma, do you know what she means when she's telling you you've got a lesion? So I'm like, no, why would I? Husband wasn't there. I was by myself, like I say, like not even dressed, half sedated. And that's when the nurse was like, yeah, it's cancer. And that's how I was told, by myself, practically naked in a room, half sedated. So again, I found out subsequently that protocol should never have happened. It was done in a private hospital, although it was NHS. So again, I don't know if that's anything to do with it, but just it's bad enough being told these things and having these issues. I think sometimes the systems in place and the way that things are handled kind of make things worse. So my experience was not the best up to that point. The care I've had since and after and during has been brilliant. So, you know, just one of those things really. But yeah, so that was like early 2020. And then shortly after that, the whole world was in lockdown and I was having chemotherapy for bowel cancer. So, yeah.
So did you just feel like the world had just been flipped upside down?
Yeah, that's a really good way to describe it, actually. Yeah, it was just, you almost feel like you're like looking in on someone else's life almost, you know, like this can't be happening. I just remember I keep thinking that this cannot be happening to me. Like, am I in a movie? You know, because I had been completely fit and well, never been in hospital in my life. I've never had any illness apart from hay fever, you know. And then from that to then be told like I was classed as vulnerable by the government, told to isolate. Like I didn't leave my house apart from to go to hospital for honestly 5 or 6 months.
Wow.
Like I didn't see my mum, my dad. I was going through all of this and I couldn't see my family. I was terrified every day that I was going to die of COVID because of every day on the news they're telling you how many people had died that day. The kids were off school, so I had a young baby. My husband was trying to work from home, keep a bit of normality, and then these 2 little boys. So like they did go to my mum and dad's quite a lot, thank goodness. But we weren't sure if that was even allowed. So then you're like, are we breaking the rules? You know. So it's just a really horrible, stressful time. I actually look back on that now. I just feel so sorry, and like I call it her because I can't relate as that being me. I just feel so sorry for her, like thinking, oh my gosh, like you were so frightened and nervous and scared of the future. Like I just wish she could see me now and just see how things have worked out for me. But it was horrible time, and obviously there was a lot of people going through chemotherapy at that time. I wasn't the only one, but to do it by yourself, you know, those nurses at the hospital. They are just gold, you know, the way that they just put a smile on me. They were the only people I saw. Literally couldn't see my friends or family or anything. So like that was my socialising. It was like getting my chemo. And I was there a long time because I was having all these different things. But yeah, just it is a distant memory now. But it's almost like a different life, you know.
And that's really interesting, the way that you just put that about looking back at the version of you that was having to go through all of that. And I mean, honestly, I can't even imagine how that must have felt.
I can't even really imagine now because it's just like I'm so detached from it. I'm just like, I don't know how we did it. I really don't.
But you did.
We did.
But you did, and you managed to get through it. So between you and your family and your parents helping with the kids and your husband, all of that, you managed to be able to get through it. And I wonder what the version of you sitting here today, if you could have taken her by the shoulders and given her a message, what would you have said?
Oh, when people ask me this, it always gets to me, actually. It makes me feel a bit emotional. Oh, gosh, what would I say? I think I just want to give her a hug and be like, girl, it's going to be all right. You know, keep going. You've got this. And actually, you're going to come out the other side like a better person, you know, and it's, you never wish this on anyone. I would never, if I could change it, I would. I wouldn't want this to have been my story. But there's a hell of a lot of positives that have come from the way that my life has worked out. You know, I've done some amazing things that I would never have had the courage to do before. I would have put things off, you know, because you think you're going to live forever. You think you've got time. And something like this is a massive wake-up call for realising, crying out loud, like, life is short. You've got to live. So if someone challenges me to do something, I says, do you want to do this? I'm pretty much like, yeah, like climb Kilimanjaro in 2022.
Yes.
To raise money for charity. Did the Sahara Desert like last December.
I love how you say that. Did the
Sahara, yeah.
Sahara.
You know, did a high rocks in Easter, like a fitness event thing. Would just like do stuff like that. And then for the family, like we'll book Disney when the kids were really young. Like I would have waited till they were the perfect age, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And we just did it, and it was the best holiday I've ever done. We're actually going back again in a couple of weeks' time.
Yes,
just
August, I think.
Just literally booked it like 2 weeks ago because I don't want to wait till next summer. If I can make it work, I'm not going to put it off. So that's been like an amazing thing to come from something really horrible that's happened.
So how is that? And I agree with you. How is your like approach to life, say, and the mindset that you're applying to making decisions about what you're going to do and what you're not going to do? How is that different to you, say, 7-8 years ago?
Honestly, feel like a completely different person. I'm just like, I have perspective on life. I think as well at that point when like my kids were quite young, I was working as a teacher. You're on a bit of a treadmill, aren't you, at that point in new motherhood? And, you know, I just think I don't ever feel like I had the perspective of like how lucky I was or having that gratitude or just thinking, let's just do this. I would never in a million years have thought I could have, say, for example, climbed Kilimanjaro and left my kids for nearly 2 weeks, to be honest. It was 10 days. And done something like that because I'm a mum. I can't leave my kids to go and do something like that. How selfish of me to do that. I have to wait till I'm older to do things like that for me. That would have been my view back then. And actually, the way that I view everything that I do now is I am showing my kids that I'm not just a mum, you know, and being a mum is the best thing that's ever happened to me. And my kids are everything, you know. But I'm teaching them, you know, how they're going to live their life, and they don't see me just settling. They see me doing challenges, going to do stuff. And I honestly think that will teach them skills in their life, and I want them to go off and do the same. You know, I want them to say yes to stuff and not wait, you know. So that's the way I view it now, is actually, if I want to do it, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to think, what would other people think? Or, oh, I don't think that's right. I'm just going to be like, yeah, let's just do it. Way more confident in who I am. Just get involved with stuff. Just, do you know what? I do just feel like a completely different person.
Well, I can feel it. I mean, obviously I didn't know you before, but in a sense, it sounds like the sort of pre-event, pre-journey, Emma would have been waiting and calculating about when's the best time, and I need to put off the things that I want to do until later. Whereas now it's like, it's totally different, and it's like, actually, this is me, this is what I want to do, and this is actually a real value to be able to demonstrate to your children about this is like, you need to live your life while you've got the opportunity to live your life.
I feel so strongly about that. And I think, again, as mums, like when I came back from the Sahara Desert, and I know I'm using these examples, like I'm not always off doing crazy stuff. These are like 2 examples in like 5 years, but you know, I've hiked a lot of mountains in the UK. I've done a lot of other things as well, but like the Sahara, for example, when I got back, like loads of people who I know through various like circles who are mums were like, oh, I would love to do something like that. Oh, I wish I could do something like that. And I feel really strongly like, if that desire is great enough, what's stopping you? You know, and I think for a lot of people, it's just the thought of, oh, well, I couldn't go off and do that. I couldn't leave the kids, or I couldn't, you know, raise the money or whatever it is. And I think that's a shame. And I would love more mums to just be like, do you know what? I want to go and do this trek, or I want to go and do this challenge. Like, let's do it. You know, and I'm going to show my kids and teach them that I can. And I think that's more powerful than waiting.
Do you know what strikes me actually, partly, when you're talking about this, is very similar to Sarah, as in our beautiful Sarah, you know, of Sarah's Star, that she really floored me actually once when we were having a conversation, and she said she'd met someone who said, like, what's your one wish in the world? And he expected her to say that I'd never had cancer, right? And she said, but I don't feel like that. She said, I don't wish I'd never had it, because if I'd never had it, I would have been living my life a certain way, you know, not putting myself out there and doing the things that I really want to do, and making sure that I spend time with the people that I want to spend with. And she said, there's no way I would ever have been lying on the bed talking to my daughter, you know, and having these conversations that would just go on, because I would have been busy and doing and, you know, trying to be productive and trying to make the most out of every day. And so she said, I actually look at it and I think I'm glad it happened in that sense, because it forced me into this perspective to have a sharper, clearer perspective of the people that I want to spend time with and the things that I want to do. How does that feel for you?
So relatable.
Right,
Yeah,
okay.
like, it's funny because, like, I love my life now, strange as it might sound, you know, that having that perspective and I feel like I've got more freedom. You know, I was teaching, and again, after having cancer, I didn't want to go back. Like, I wanted to take my daughter to school. That was my big goal, actually, because she was 8 months old when I was diagnosed. And it felt outlandish at the time, but this was my big life goal, was to see her to school at 4. Like, that just felt almost
Big life
impossible.
goal, as in you weren't sure you were going to actually ever have the opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can imagine when I got to take her to school, that was a big day for me, you know. So then I was like, okay, now I'm going to, like, set a new goal, you know. But having cancer and everything that came with that, like, I left my teaching job. I never went back. I was on maternity leave when I was diagnosed with cancer, and I never went back. And now I have my own business, and I absolutely love the flexibility that I have. And it's, again, I know that I wouldn't have had that courage to resign from my job. Like, and even my husband was like, what about your pension? You know, all these very sensible things. And I'm just like, who cares? I've just had stage 4 cancer. Like, you think I'm thinking about my pension, mate? You know what I mean? So he is very sensible with things like that, whereas I'm the total opposite. And I'm probably even worse now, because I just, like, YOLO, you know what I mean? Just live my life. But absolutely I've never regretted that decision. You know, and I just wonder if this hadn't happened to me, would I still be teaching? Would I have maybe missed out on a lot with the kids? Because I am there every day. I'm always rushing around like a lunatic, but I take them to school. I mean, the boys are old enough to walk themselves now, but I'm there every morning. I pick her up every day. You know, I'm taking them to their clubs every single night of the week. We're dancing, football, all sorts of things. And I know that our life wouldn't look like that if I was in a different job, if I'd stayed in, say, for example, teaching.
Were you happy teaching? Or did it feel a little bit like, I don't want to do this forever?
I think, I mean, I did enjoy my job and the kids and stuff like that, but it's hard. Like, it's a demanding job, and it takes up so much of your brain space and your time. And I wasn't loving all of that, to be honest. So yeah, I think that was probably also a bit of a factor of, like, I was ready for, you know, I wasn't really wanting to go back anyway. But it felt like there's no way that I would have made that choice at that time, even though I already had my skincare business going at that time, that I would have been brave enough to be like, let's just resign from this job and just give it a go. But it just felt like absolutely the right thing to do because of what I'd been through. So it has absolutely changed my life in lots of positive ways. I've met some of my absolute best friends who I would never have met otherwise. Lots of them through like Instagram and stuff, which I know we'll talk about. So there's just like so many amazing things that have come, I guess, from what I've been through. Would I still have rather not? It's a really hard question because obviously I don't know what the future holds for me. If I had a crystal ball and I could sit here now knowing that I am going to be okay and I'm going to live till I'm old, you know, then I would be glad that this happened because the trajectory of my life after it, I love my life. I love where I am at and how I live. Obviously, we don't have that crystal ball, so we don't know exactly what the future holds. I'm still having me regular 6 monthly scans and, you know, the nature of cancer, it's always a possibility that it could come back, in which case I'll obviously wish that it had never happened. So it's living like, you just can't, I suppose, think what if, and you can't change what's happened. So I try not to really think about it too much. I'm just really happy where I'm at now and really grateful and really just hopeful that it continues to be like this and I can keep doing crazy things and just saying yes to stuff.
Yes, yeah. Well, and you chose, and I'm really interested to understand the thinking behind choosing to share your story so openly.
Yeah.
What led you to do that? So you've got a really big following on Instagram. I'm sure, no doubt, and I'm sure we'll hear some stories that you've been able to help so many other people by being so open and generous with sharing your personal story. But what sort of first led you to thinking, right, this is something that I'm going to do?
It's an interesting one because actually at no point did I sit down and think, okay, I'm going to set up a cancer blog. I'm going to blog my journey. Let's go. Like, it was never like that. Like, I had my little Instagram with a few hundred followers that I was like posting like the odd picture of the kids or whatever that I'd set up the year before, but was hardly on it. And then obviously when I was told that I had bowel cancer, and I just was like, this cannot be happening. Like, I'm 36. Like, I genuinely thought I was the only person in the world as a mum my age, like, who had that diagnosis. As like that stereotype, because I didn't know any better. This is just an old man's thing. Why am I, what on earth? You know, we now know that obviously people like Bell Babe and others raising awareness, like, this is not something that just happens to old men. It's anyone with a bowel can have bowel cancer. But I was just like, wow, I'm the only person in the world. So then I get on Instagram and starts searching a few hashtags and seeing if I could maybe find anyone that was similar to me. And lo and behold, there were. And I started to connect with some people. People who were sort of on a similar trajectory, as in diagnosed at a similar time, similar age, mums, and just kind of connected and chatted a little bit and kind of really helped me knowing that I wasn't on my own. And I wasn't the only young person, actually. As much as I'd rather there was no one else, like, there is a whole community on Instagram of us. We call ourselves Bowlies, you know, bowel cancer people. And I mean, I've scrolled back before. I've scrolled back over my Instagram and looking at like the first few things I posted around the time of my diagnosis, and there was no big, by the way, guys, I've got cancer. There's no big like reveal or anything like that. And actually, and I kind of wish I had blogged a bit more about it now, but at the time going through my chemo in lockdown and stuff, there's not a lot of actually my treatment. You know, there's the odd picture. I don't even think reels were around back then. So there's the odd little video maybe, but it was very, very slow start. Just me using it to kind of try and find other people to connect with and just slowly sharing the odd little bit.
And were you nervous about share? Like, did it feel? No.
I've never really overthought it. I've always been quite an open book, and I wear my heart on my sleeve. Like, anyone who knows me will know, you know, what I feel and think, I just share. So, and I've always loved like sharing, like, you know, I know Instagram's not really just for pictures, but like I'm always taking pictures, always have done. I've always used to make photo books and albums and stuff. I've always shared on Facebook, like back in the day and stuff. So it just was like kind of natural for me to share, because it wasn't like I'd never shared anything in my life and then just decided to. It was like, I am someone who shares a lot of my life anyway. So yeah, it just kind of felt like a natural thing, and kind of, yeah, just, I think then it was lockdown, and I always just end up finding myself roped into these situations where people want to talk to me. But I ended up doing something, I think it was for the local news, I can't remember, I think it was Look North, on the like different people in lockdown. So they had covered a few, we had to film ourselves obviously, but they had a few stories, they called them the lockdown diaries, of people who were isolating and why and how that looked. And I was one of them. So I had to record some videos for that, and they only used, like a small section of those videos. But I remember like I shared a couple of clips on my Instagram from what I'd talked about and got quite a good response and stuff. So that was probably the start of it, really. And then I really didn't properly start sharing a lot until after, when I'd had my bowel surgery, I'd had my chemo, was told there's no cancer, off you go. That was kind of when it really ramped up, and it was more just me, I think, as a coping strategy to survive with the, all right, off you go and live your life. When I was at the hospital every week, probably twice a week for like 9 months, to be told, off you go, bye, you're fine now. So that was difficult. So yeah, I think sharing ramped up then the fun reels came out, and I was just kind of sharing how I felt, but in like a creative, fun way. And that's kind of when the followers started to creep up a bit, I suppose, and people could relate. Well,
I was going to say, like, what's your relationship between you and your followers? And is it typically people who also have had a bowel cancer journey, or who, say it's their family member or friend or something like that? Typically, who is?
I would say it's a mix. I think a lot of people are probably following because either them or a family member have had a bowel cancer diagnosis, or cancer in general, I suppose. Sometimes I think people have maybe just seen my story that I've shared somewhere, and then they kind of become invested, and then the more that they kind of see, and we do it with, I guess, celebrities and other people, you kind of get invested in their lives, and it's kind of the same. So some people have nothing to do with cancer at all. I would say, some people are people I know in real life. They just have to put up with the content, but it's, I guess the majority probably, I'm not sure, are probably people who have a link to cancer. Certainly the people who message me, it is questions and things about my bowel cancer diagnosis and my story and stuff that they're contacting me about.
And what are there any particular sort of relationships or communications that you've had with people where you felt like, I'm so glad I do what I do because I know I've been able to help them?
Yeah, so I think it started again ramping up for me because actually when I was, like I said, first diagnosed, and I had connected with some of these girls on Instagram who were going through the same, because within any cancer diagnosis it's going to be different per person, but with the bowel cancer, obviously, because mine was in my liver, like that's different to like perhaps somebody else who maybe it was somewhere else, or maybe it was just in the bowel or whatever. So it's all very different. So me and one of my friends, Bex, who I met through Instagram, she would actually help me, and we would search for like Instagram accounts or people who had bowel cancer with liver, so kind of the same as me almost, who were doing well. And if we found someone, she would like send me that account. I'd be like screenshotting it. I'd send it in the family group chat. Look at this person. Oh my gosh, like they're like 3 years clear, and they had it in their liver as well. Like, and that like was literally like a drug to me. It was an absolute tonic, and that helped me with my mindset as well. I've always tried to have a good positive mindset and that kind of thing during everything that's happened. But just knowing that there was hope, and knowing that it can
because
be okay.
See real life examples of people who have got longevity. In the future.
And that's what I always said. Look, I'm going to be that person for someone else. And that's kind of why I'm so open now to sharing everything. Even when the cancer had come back, like my initial thought was like, oh my gosh, like I've let everyone down. Obviously, it's a stupid thing to think because it's not my fault. But I was like, oh no. But actually, I think there's power in being honest with people and sharing the ups and the downs. And cancer's never going to be like full of roses and always perfect. You know, you're going to have those bumps in the road, of course. But seeing that I've got through it and how I've got through it, I think has really helped people as well. So I just have to be honest and share how I'm doing and things that trigger us, things that I struggle with. And a lot of people find it relatable because not everybody shares, how they're feeling, and this anxiety can be really bad. And I've shared a lot about that over the years because that really, I struggle with that, waiting for results and stuff. So I think for me, I just want to be that person that people can see. So she had bowel and liver in 2020. This is now 6 years later. She's been clear for 2.5 years. Like she's literally trekking off doing all sorts of stuff. I do share my life because actually I think that's important, and I actually enjoy it. I wouldn't do it if I didn't. And it's almost as well a little kind of like what's the word, like a little diary or a little blog, like. And initially I was like, well, the kids could look back on me Instagram, when you're thinking, what if, like, and see all the things that we did and like the way that I like would speak about it and have little video diaries of us and stuff. So it was kind of like, and it kind of almost still is that a little bit, like memories for and I'm hoping for me to look back on, because I do sometimes look back on some stuff that I've posted and it helps me. So it's not just for other people. I think it's for me as well.
What helps you? Like which types of things that you look at?
I guess just seeing how far I've come. And I look like just the memories with the kids and stuff as well. Like, yeah, this like all of it really. But it I think I quickly found that actually sharing and having positive messages from other people, it is like a therapy for me. Like, so sharing, as much as I'm doing it to help other people, I am doing it for me as well. As a way of kind of coping, and that's what works for me. But I have had messages from people over the years. I used to actually screenshot them and send them to my family and be like, look at this person, they've gone to get checked because of me. So there have been people who've, been checked for their symptoms because of me. And I'm saying because of me. Well, they said that. It kind of was a bit of a trigger for them to go. I've have messages and stuff from people who are either going through bowel cancer or their family is, who, just want a little bit of reassurance about something. And obviously there are messages that I miss, but I do try and get back to people if I can. Even just, with a little something that might help them to, I guess, appreciate where they're at, and just know that there is hope. And that's my main message always, is like, there's always hope. It doesn't matter, what your situation is. Everyone's different, but you just have to have that hope that you might have more time, hope that there might be a future, hope, whatever it looks like for that person. It's just so powerful. So if I can kind of help people with that a bit, I mean, I'm not Mother Teresa or anything like that, but like, just if sharing my story can just, give someone, oh my goodness, it can be like, okay.
Yeah,
then
it feels like you're sort of a living, walking, talking, real life example of someone who can get like the worst diagnosis, and it must have felt horrific for all the reasons we were talking about before. And I would imagine, actually, and I'd be interested to see what, like, was your initial thought like, that's it,
No, actually.
Was it not?
As much as a thought obviously comes into your head, I mean, I haven't accessed it for a few years, but like my little funeral playlist on my notes,
right, yeah.
So the thought, obviously,
yes,
it has been there, but it's never ever been something where I've thought, oh my God, like, I'm going to die.
Right.
I've never allowed that thought in. No. And I still sat here now, genuinely think that I'm going to be like here in 20 years time. Just going to touch wood because, you know, you can never be too careful.
Yes, of course.
Lots of wood.
Yes.
But like, I've never ever thought it wouldn't, not deeply, you know.
Which
I'll
is
just brush
wonderful.
it.
But is that common?
I don't know.
Yeah, and who knows? Because I see a lot of similarities, like in the mindset. So, you know, the positivity and the optimism, right, and the openness. And there's a lot of people that I've had the pleasure of meeting who really have that. And I'm not sure I would necessarily feel the same way. I don't know, because I haven't been in that position. But I know there's other people where it's the polar opposite of that, you know, and it's like this almost kind of a resignation of, well, that's it. There's nothing I can do, you know, and I wonder about the real meaningful, like, value and impact of the mindset on the whole thing.
I actually think, and like, I took all the treatment that my doctors told me to, so I would never ever say you can cure yourself by positivity alone, you know. But when I was first diagnosed, I watched a Netflix documentary called Heal, and it was basically about the power of your mind on physically healing your body. And I guess, like, for someone who's maybe got severe depression, it's an illness of the mind, but it manifests itself in physical. They can't get out of bed, for example. I've seen it myself when I've, you know, for example, one of my scan results, they said they thought it was back, and I had to wait for like a month, and it turned out it wasn't back. It was just a mistake. But I couldn't get out of bed. Like, that anxiety had manifested itself physically for me. So we see it, that the mind can make our body, can affect our bodies. So I watched that at a perfect time. It's right around the time I was going for treatment, and they did talk about cancer and how, you know, it's a really good documentary, to be honest. I don't know if it's still on Netflix, but it's just called Heal documentary. And that was a massive thing for me. I was like, right, I can't control what treatment I'm getting. I felt very out of control actually at that point with regards to, I was off getting a central line fitted one minute. I was going getting my treatment the next. I had appointments for bloods. I was here, I was there. And I just felt like I was totally everything was out of my control. But the one thing that was in my control was like my mind and how I thought. And obviously when you get told you've got cancer, like, you're not going to be like, oh, well, it'll be fine. You know, I was absolutely like distraught and, you know, really trying to keep it together for the kids when I got home. But then I wasn't in a good place, you know, and it hurt. Like, it was like physical pain from how I felt. And I thought, I cannot do this like long term. I cannot make myself feel like this. This is no good. I have to flip it up. I have to just try and change my mindset here, because I just can't stay in this horrible place. It's awful. So that I did go there, and I cannot stay here. So I had to pull myself out. And it hasn't been easy the whole time. Like, I've learned so many strategies over the years, what works for me to help if I go a little bit back there, for example, to pull myself out. But the one thing that I could control at that time was how I thought. So it's like, right, I'm going to wear my jazzy leggings every time I go for chemo, for example. I'm going to go and have a bit crack with the girls. I'm going to, like, you know, just post, like, I was continuing, like, running my skincare business, for example, and just telling people, like, just messages for normal, like, requests, you know, if you want any products, just give us a shout. Don't mention about the cancer. We'll not talk about that. But I just was like wanting a bit of normality, you know.
Yeah.
So that just all really helped, and it just kind of that just paved the way for how I've sort of coped with everything since, I suppose, with regards to my mindset. Yeah.
So what would you say to someone who has just received a diagnosis? So whether it was bowel cancer or something else.
So for somebody who's just newly diagnosed with cancer, I mean, I always tell people not to Google. They always do. But it's the worst thing, because you're going to find the worst case scenario, and it's going to make, this is what I did, and then it's going to make you feel down here, and you're going to spiral, and you're going to think, oh my gosh, there's no hope. And every person's different, you know, we don't know each individual situation. But I guess it would also be just your mindset is so powerful. You can't underestimate it, you know. Try to find strategies to help pull you from here more often. You are going to go back here. You know, I was listening to like online on YouTube, just like Reiki meditation stuff to get to sleep, because when you're lying in bed, for me, that was when everything would be coming into my mind. You know, I've got certain people that I'll speak to, and they'll always say the right thing to lift us up again. So find your people to support you. And just know that it can be okay. I don't know everyone's individual situation, but like there is always hope in some form, and you've just got to cling on to that for dear life to get you through. And it's not, again, everyone's different, but hopefully it's not forever, and there will be a version of you like in the future that could possibly look back on where you're at now and be like, wow, like you did it, you know.
Amazing. What would you say to someone who feels like they've got some symptoms, but they're either thinking, well, it couldn't be that, I'm too young, you know, because there's this thing, either I'm too young, or the doctors are going to think I'm wasting their time, similarly to the thoughts that you had. But if someone has got a bit of a gut feeling, same as you did, that something's not right, what advice would you give?
So definitely go to the GP. And I know it can be scary, especially, you know, if your GP isn't supportive, but you've got choice. So if you're not happy with the response of your doctor, you can actually request to see someone else, you know, until you find someone that listens to you. And what I would say is, if you do feel like you've been fobbed off, go back, like keep going back until you are listened to. You know your body better than anyone else. And if you've got those symptoms, they should actually on the NHS now give you that stool sample test for free. And that would also let them know if there is obviously blood in your stools and stuff like that. You could also keep a bit of a symptoms diary with regards to like how often are you going to the toilet? Is that changed? Have you got pain? How often is the pain happening? You know, are you having blood in your stools? Are you more fatigued than normal? When are you sleeping more? Are you finding that you're just tired all the time? Have you had any weight loss, for example? That's perhaps unexplained. A lot of these symptoms I did have, but actually didn't put them down to the cancer until afterwards, and I pieced it all together. And I was like, these are all symptoms. You know, I had my baby. I had been trying to lose weight after having her. It was falling off like nothing on earth. And I'm like, that's why. Right. You know, I had been actually severely anemic in the pregnancy as well, which was another bit of a red flag that was missed, I think. Actually gave us a blood transfusion after I had her, which again, obviously low iron can also be linked to that. Just knowing your body and not accepting no. If you feel there's something wrong and they're not following it up because of your age, that's not acceptable. So you've got to be a pain in their bum. You've got to go back until they will take you seriously. And I know it's hard. It is incredibly hard to advocate for yourself sometimes, but you need to know. And I'm always being a pain in people's bums. I like to make myself known when I meet new people. So in a good way, like I'll tell them stories about myself so they'll remember me. I don't want to just be a name or a number in a system. I want them to know who I am as a person. So I'll tell them all about my life. So that, that's her. But the amount of times you have to advocate for yourself in the system with cancer, the number of times I've had to ring up to chase results or advocate for myself with regards to, like, initially they were just going to scan us once a year after my first diagnosis. Like, are you crazy? Like, that's not happening. So then they did do it every 6 months, but I had to push for that. And I know that there are some people who potentially maybe older people who just, okay, we'll just wait for them to ring, you know, and they just wait. And if I did that, my goodness, I probably would never have had a scan.
Yeah, it sounds like you've got to be really active and proactive.
I think advocating for yourself from the start, and it might not be bowel cancer. I think, and obviously through my Instagram, I have had a lot of messages from people about it, and people do overshare. Sometimes I'm like, oh, okay, I don't need to know all of that. You know, I'm always like, oh, well, I'm not a doctor, but and then they'll tell us like, oh, I've been to the doctors, or I had my colonoscopy and it's all good, it was nothing. So the majority of the time when people are telling me that they've got symptoms and they have actually pushed and got a colonoscopy, which is the best way if you've got those symptoms to find out what's going on in your bowel, I think like 99.9% of the time it isn't cancer.
Right.
So it doesn't always mean, oh my God, like I've got cancer because I've got XYZ thing. But we need to make sure.
Yeah.
So you need to go and push to get heard, really.
That's brilliant advice. Thank you. And I want to come back to something that you were saying before, because you really lit up when you were talking about loving your life.
Oh, did I?
You really. So what do you love so much? Like, what's the favourite parts of your life?
Just like how, I guess, because I'm so flexible with what I do for my job, and I get to spend all the time I want with the kids, you know, and don't get me wrong, like I'm happy for a break sometimes as well. And if you know, if there's an opportunity for a break, for a weekend away with the girls or whatever, I'm going to take it, and I'm not going to feel guilty and feel like I have to be there. Like kids are resilient, like they don't need their mom 24/7. I don't believe that. They've got a dad who's there. They've got amazing grandparents on both sides. They've got fantastic aunties and uncles. There's plenty of people who can, you know, look after them for a couple of days. They're not gonna, you know, nothing's gonna happen if I go away for me. So I've totally forgot your question.
What do you love?
What do I love about my life? So yeah, just the flexibility, I suppose, but also the perspective that I've got, and the fact that I do just say yes to stuff. People think I'm mad, honestly. They're like, what are you doing now? What are you doing now? Nothing surprises me close friends anymore. If I was to message them now and be like, I'm booking a bungee jump next week, they'd just be like, okay, you know what I mean? I wouldn't, because actually I'm terrified to do that. That's one thing I would say no to. It's power in saying no as well. You know, for a while I was like, I have to say yes to everything. Right. But now I'm at the point where I'm like, there's also power in saying no and actually looking after your body as well. Yeah. You know, if you say yes to everything, you're going to get exhausted. But don't put things off that you want to. And that's how I live. Like I say, like randomly just booking Disney World 2 weeks ago for like the summer. Yeah, that's my tummy rumbling. Yeah, like I would never in a million years have done that. You know, it's a lot of money to go to Disney. That's what credit cards are for, right? You know, that's how I live. I'm just like, it's fine, you know, but just, I don't want to wait. The sensible thing would have been to wait till next year and, you know, saved up and done it then. But I the way that my mind works, I can't. I just really struggle to wait for things. And even a year ahead, I do still find that difficult. I don't know if anyone else who's listening who has had a cancer diagnosis feels the same, but like if you were to ask me, what's your 5-year plan? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? I'd literally be like, can't answer that because I can't visualize in the future.
As
and
in you don't want to?
No, I just can't. my brain won't let me. And I don't know if it's like a coping strategy or something, but I can't really do it. So anything that I book or I plan is usually within a year maximum. Right. You know, I can just about see a year ahead, but even then that's scary. You know, I am 2.5 years clear. My next scan is, I think, November. So that'll be over 3 years. And the more like clear scans that I'm getting, in theory, I should be feeling like less anxious, but it's almost like, okay, like the thought of like potentially having to start from zero again, like with the years of it being clear and just having to go through all that again when I'm so far removed now from having treatment and surgery, is like, it's scary. I don't know. So I think that's also, it's still in my mind a lot. I think potentially maybe when I hit 5 years, that is the golden number, isn't it? You know, 5 years all clear. They class you as cured, I think. And they're still writing my letters that, you know, they're still hoping I'm cured. They use that word. Right. So that I cling on that. You know, I really cling on to that.
I didn't know that though about the 5 years. So is that's generally what people say, is that
I think 5 years is like the magic number
Right.
for being all clear for cancer. And then I think obviously depends on a lot of different types of cancer in different situations.
Yeah.
But I think for a lot of people when they hit 5 years, I think that's the end of their maintenance. For me, they're going to do me for 10 years apparently. I think because it's come back a couple of times and stuff like that, they're just going to keep going with me. But even just the thought of like 10 years down the line still being clear, that just blows my mind. It's going to happen though. I'm manifesting it right now, right here. Yeah. But yeah.
Wonderful. And honestly, you've got a real well, it's positive energy and optimism.
Thank you.
But you just, I think you must give so many people hope, because like we said before, you know, to be a sort of living and breathing, walking, talking, real life example of someone who's been through that, you know, and gone through all of the treatment, and then in a position now where you enjoy your life, you love your life. One of the things I want to ask you actually is, how has your relationship changed with your husband? Because if you're effectively a bit of a different woman now, you know, and wanting to make decisions in a different way to what you did before, I'm just curious, how was that?
We're getting divorced. Joke. He's so laid back though. He just like lets us do what I want, to be honest. He knows he hasn't really got a choice. He just has to suck it up. He's just probably riddled with anxiety because of me. I've been there. Bless the poor man. No, he puts up with us. He's very lovely, and he just lets us get on with it, really. He just likes to, if there's money involved, then he's always a little bit more sensible. Because I guess in any relationship, you've got probably some kind of opposite situation. You know, you've got the person who's frivolous and just wants to do everything, and you've got the very sensible person who manages the money and is reining you in a bit. And it's just kind of like that with me and Carrie. But he's always been there from the start of this situation for me. And I used to take him along to every appointment that I was allowed to take him, because he would just remember everything. He'd ground me, and he would just make us feel better, really. And he's always thought that I'd be fine. Not for a single second in his mind did he ever think that I was going to die.
Right.
Unless he's not told me, or he's hidden it very well. You know, if I'm all about the humour, like a lot of us are, you know, and I make jokes about, oh, well, at least the house will be paid off because of the life insurance, you know, little jokes like that, which at the time I wasn't really joking. I was just like, you know, testing it. And he's always like, he hates it when I say stuff like that. He says like, stop it, you know. But yeah, he's I don't think I could have got through the last 6 years, obviously, without him, you know, and he's just been amazing. So that's very lucky again to have all of this support that helps massively, you know.
So it sounds like he goes with the flow, goes with your flow.
Basically, yeah. He does what he's told.
Well, that's brilliant. Listen, thank you so much for coming in. It's been really wonderful getting to know you and hear about your journey. And so what we'll do, we'll include underneath the episode Emma's Instagram account, so you can go and follow her. You can look at her stories and her reels and follow her journey, and get in touch. I'm sure you would love to hear from people.
Yes, I'm always happy to hear from anybody and connect with them. Absolutely. And thanks so much for having us. It's been a lovely way to spend our morning. And
well, you are an absolute joy.
Oh,
you really are. You really are.
That's so kind. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you for staying with us, and we'll see you next time. Take care. Bye.